Hi, ladies of Sparkle. I am so glad I'm turning that off and not gonna jump out of this seat too quickly. If I do, maybe I'll back on. Hey, I am so glad to be with y'all tonight. So special, and I love seeing a wheelchair right out of the gate. What a blessing that you are in the room, sweet lady. I kind of had a crazy few months and a crazy few years, as Becca referenced, when I was 26 years old and had a massive stroke and nearly died and became severely disabled afterwards. And it's been a rough road, honestly, for 16 years living with a disabled body and a hard story. You know, there's been a lot of collateral damage in this story. These years have been hard and equaled a lot of pain. I spent 13 years of living a hard journey, 16 years total, but relearning to eat, speak, walk, everything was really, really challenging. And I've had bad falls, just lots of hard stuff. But you know what? With the same breath of telling you I've had collateral damage, I have to tell you there's also been tremendous collateral gifts. That there have been so many just amazing things that the Lord has done in the deep darkness of this story. He has comforted me and sustained me and given me true gifts from him, the truly good things that have nothing to do with this physical world at all. And I tell you that, and to fast forward to a few months ago, it was bam, 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 bam for me. My husband and I have this camp for families with disabilities, and we just moved to 4 weeks of camp. And we released a new book, Treasures in the Dark, several months ago. We also opened a coffee shop for families who have disabilities. And it all kind of fell right in the same window. It's totally crazy. And I was tempted in that moment, in those moments, to flip out and say, this is just too much. This is so overwhelming. I cannot handle it. And even right now, with back to school, I have 2 kids, it's a lot. And I keep saying, like, okay, Lord, I think what you want me to do in my life is redefine, reframe, rethink, and understand differently and align my life to the upside down kingdom of God. So all the crazy overwhelm in my life, both then and now, I am choosing to reframe as the abundance in my life, as the abundance in the story. Because here's the truth, overwhelm is abundance. Because honestly, the overwhelming elements in all of our stories are the answers to the prayers in our stories. They're the things we wished years ago would have happened. They're the things we have now that are just simply too much, too hard, too intense. Maybe we can see them as God's abundance, the abundant life we have in him. I think we are called to do that, ladies, in every area of our life. Reframe absolutely everything. Now, I know that's real cute to talk about opening a coffee shop and back to school with my perfect kids and writing books and blah, 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 speaking around the country. Aren't you impressed? And the reality is, I know all too well that that's not always the overwhelm we're dealing with in life. Yes, there are seasons where we are underwater from all that good stuff. But there are also seasons where we are underwater because it is absolutely terrible to be me in this moment. That way more than like the cute, fun overwhelm of back to school is like I buried a child last month, or I got a cancer diagnosis, or I don't know how I'm going to get out of bed tomorrow because of X, Y, and Z. And just so we're clear, I feel you because I've also been there too. So I know all too well abundance isn't always where overwhelm can lead us. But you know what? It's consistent in all our deep stories of a feeling of like overwhelmed, not sure how we are going to do this, is a sense of being in the dark, not knowing which way's up, not knowing how we're going to do this. I think the craziness in all of our stories and the deep loss in all of our stories can mean we are trying to find our way through the darkness, and particularly in the hard times, stories we never imagined that we would be living. I know that feeling, and I know so many of you do. Like, wait, this is not what I thought it was going to be like when I was a little girl. This wasn't supposed to turn out this way. And then even after the stroke, when everybody had visions of me running again on the beach, well, 16 years later, it's hard to know exactly what that all means. And I don't have all the answers, but I do know one day there will be no more of all this madness. And that's about all I know with certainty. But you know what? That's enough. We don't have to have all the answers. And sometimes we can truly be in the dark, underwater, in that spectrum of hard things. But we all have challenges, don't we? In this broken world, we all have really hard stuff. You know, I think in the dark, we all have the temptation to play the what if game. I know I do. We've got this metaverse of sliding doors of what if we would have done this, or what if we would have done that, or what if I would have married him? What if I would have caught this sooner? What if this would have happened? We just go around and around. The anxiety is just kicking. And you know what? I think the way off of the what if loop, the escape hatch, is hope. Because hope gives us permission to live our actual lives. Hope says, I'm going to put to rest all the things that could have been in this story. They're gone. This right here, this is it. And I'm going to hyper-focus on what actually is in the actual story of my life. Ladies, I think what we have to do is move from the what if to the what is. What is right in front of us. And that laser focus to this is it, here and now. The boundary lines have fallen in pleasant places. This right here, that Psalm 16:6. That's all that really matters. I perhaps have a pinnacle what if story. When I was 19 years old, I was getting very dizzy in college, and I went to the doctor, and literally with like a 10-second diagnosis, without making eye contact, and really inappropriate for sure, a prescription was slid across the desk for vertigo medication called Meclizine. I still remember the name, and I was sent on my merry way. 7 years later, we would know it was not vertigo. Had that doctor ordered an MRI, he would have seen that I had a mass on my brainstem. But instead, he wrongly diagnosed me and put me on medication. And that's a haunting what if right there. What if he would have caught it? What if I would have known? Would I have operated? It would have been elective surgery. Would I have signed up to potentially live as a lifelong person with disabilities? Would I have gotten married? What if? Would I have had kids? What if? And I could get riled up by all the what ifs. And instead, I think the pinnacle what if question in my heart is, what if God spared me from a perfect life? I know, kind of a crazy thought. Like, what if God, in his kindness and goodness, was sparing me from a perfect life? Which I know there's no such thing. I'm not saying that. But it was pretty close to perfect. And it's not real perfect anymore. You may be able to see some of it. You don't see all of it. But I tell you, I had a largely pain-free life. Largely, definitely not perfect, but largely pain-free life before my stroke, in a way that I would have misidentified as the blessed life. Even though so clearly the Beatitudes say the opposite. The Beatitudes teach us, blessed are the meek, blessed are those who mourn, blessed are the poor in spirit, which, by the way, many theologians surmise means those for whom the systems of the world are not made. I wouldn't have even understood that before my stroke. I only do a little bit now, and I live my life in a wheelchair with a paralyzed face with crazy health problems. I only have use of one hand. And I only kind of understand that the blessed one is the one who is mourning and who has deep, deep need. And what a gift. I would have never understood that, and maybe now I do a titch more. That what if loop is so paralyzing and so terrorizing. And like I said, the escape hatch, I believe, is hope. I think we can trade all of our anxious what ifs in the story for hopeful what ifs. Trade our anxiety, riddled what ifs, for truly hopeful what ifs. For instance, what if this is the life I would have chosen? What if this all isn't an accident? What if this was the life I was meant to live? That's some what ifs. That's a list right there of some things we're thinking. What if I'm living the life I am called to live? What if this is it? I mean, that's paradigm shifting stuff, ladies. Unpack that tonight in bed. What if this is exactly where God has me and wants me and will continue to show up and use me? Powerful. I've always deeply loved the truth of Isaiah 45:3. In fact, I named this new book after it, Treasures in the Dark, because I'm obsessed with it. The beginning of Isaiah 45:3, the first part, says, I will give you hidden treasure in the darkness, riches stored in secret places, so that you may know that I am God. I won't say any more. Riches stored in secret places. So I see it so clearly that if you have to go into the deep darkness, you might as well get the good stuff out of it. You might as well get that treasure and let it inform how you live the rest of your life. This verse was said to God's people living in exile and captivity and horrific oppression. You know, sometimes I believe certain treasures are only available in the darkness. And sometimes you couldn't see the treasure in the light. You can only see it in the dark. So if you've got to go into the dark, you better get that stuff and get out. I believe actually that darkness can in fact be sacred. And I'm going to share just a few of the treasures that I've found in the darkness with all of you. But before I do it, I'm going to stand up very slowly and carefully, because the stage is pretty small, and make a memory for you, because when the speaker stands up or moves around on stage, you remember it differently. So ladies, here's the question. If it's true for me, Katherine Wolf, today, whatever today is, September 26th, yeah, 2004. If it's true for me, could it be true for you too? I end every entry in this asking that question. I am no saint. I am no superhero. I'm not even that special. I just had a stroke, and now I talk about it. I'm a lady who nearly died and became disabled, and now I talk about it. So as I go through these treasures, think with me, if it's true for me, could it be true for you too? And how would that possibly impact your story? What are you going to do with what you know? You know, it's kind of sad that I'm talking to you about all this good stuff because guess what? It's going to haunt you. Because the reality is, once you know, you can't not know. Like, once you think about things a different way, you kind of can't go back. Like, oh, wait, you're right. And maybe there is treasure that God has in the darkness. So let's unpack just a few together really quickly. And I am conscious of time, don't worry. Here we go. When I first had the stroke, I could not speak for months after it. It was so bad and I was so locked into my body that eventually my speech pathologist gave me a communication device called a letterboard. This letterboard, I could peck letters, the robot would say words, and I would speak to my family. As you can see, my baby James thought it was a really fun toy when I was in the ICU. And I would type over and over, I'm not the same on the inside. I'm not the same on the inside. I'm not the same on the inside. Because I so desperately wanted my family and friends to know, I said it backwards, hilariously. I would say, I'm the same on the inside. I'm the same on the inside. I'm the same on the inside. Because I needed my family and friends to know I'm completely intact internally. My faith, my memories, my personality, all of that is swimming inside of me, exactly as it was before my body didn't work anymore. Today, 16 years later, I would never say those words. I understand 1,000% why I did, but I would never say I'm the same on the inside because I'm not. I'm not the same. Suffering has done something very, very profound and deep to me. Suffering forms us into new people, I believe. Jesus, in our suffering, forms us into a new creation, and it's glorious. I love the Barbara Brown Taylor quote from her book, Learning to Walk in the Dark, that new life always starts in the dark. A seed in the ground, a baby in the womb, or Jesus in the tomb. It all starts in the dark. And I love that thought so much. It is in the deep darkness that something new is born. Last year, a year and a half ago, we celebrated Katherine lived 15 years. We have a big party every year on Katherine Lived Day. And it was Katherine lived 15 years later, and I was unpacking with my therapist, my counselor, emotional therapist, that it just doesn't sting the way it used to. The anniversary just doesn't sting Like, I don't feel the same way about it. I used to not want to get out of bed in the morning on that day. It was horrible. And I asked her, like, why is that? Why don't I feel the same way? And she asked me, could it be that you love who you've become? And I just thought, yes, that's it. When you love who you've become, you can't hate the anniversary. You can't hate the day it happened anymore. And that, again, that is a profound shift that took 15 years, ladies, to get there. So it's not like I woke up the morning after my stroke. I was like, I love who I've become. No, there's been horrific loss. But how beautiful to think 15 years later, now I can say that that anniversary does not have the power it did. No, no, no. I love the truth of Romans 12:2, that we do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And I think that's what happened. I could not conform to the pattern of this world after the massive stroke of becoming disabled. But my mind began to be transformed. Our minds are different because we watch Jesus meet us in our suffering and transform us. So this takeaway treasure for all of you is that my suffering can feel a little more bearable when I love who I've become because of it. Yes, I love that, yes. Next, at the end of college and in the beginning of my married life, I was doing something called commercial print modeling. Don't be impressed, it's not like real modeling. Do I look like a real model, please? But I'm 5'10", and I was doing something called commercial print work. So I was like in Target ads and Disney ads, and I got a really good agent in Los Angeles and started doing a lot of commercially work. And then I have this massive stroke, and I'm in a wheelchair, and my face is paralyzed. And obviously, the bill-paying work of commercial print modeling was no longer available for this girl. I was helping put my husband through law school with this little career, so it was great. It was lucrative, and I loved it, but it wasn't my calling. It wasn't like what I was going to do with my life was be a commercial print model. And yet, it was great in many ways, and I knew that that part was dead after the stroke. I wasn't going to be doing that anymore, and that was okay. But, would have been great in some ways to continue. And after the stroke, several years after, I started doing Go Red luncheons, like speaking at a luncheon, informing women of how to know the signs that they're having a stroke. And I started speaking at more and more and more luncheons. And one thing that led to another, and the marketing director of the American Stroke Association called and asked me if they could hire me to be the new face of the American Stroke Association's largest and most successful campaign in company history called the FAST campaign, F-A-S-T, and my face is now the F in the FAST campaign, which is this nuts campaign. You may have seen it. It's on billboards in Times Square. It's in your local doctor's office. It's on the side of buses. It's being used entirely everywhere, and I'm not getting residuals, and that's okay. But it's nuts. I hope you're seeing the incredibly, just unbelievable irony that my most successful modeling gig came after my face was paralyzed. Like, what? That's just so insane. I mean, upside down kingdom. Like, that doesn't happen. It's truly the beauty of Isaiah 43:19. that, see, I am doing something new. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the desert. Okay, here's where the story gets really, really nuts. So at multiple speaking events in recent years, women have come up to me and said, hi, I followed you online for years. I'd read Hope Heals, 10 years ago. I saw a billboard with your face on it. I remembered it because I know you. And I subsequently was having facial droop and raced to the hospital, and I was having a stroke. And I credit you with having saved my life. You understand the irony. The modeling gig after the stroke was a part of saving someone's life? What on earth? I mean, the story is so wild. If it didn't really happen to me, I would 100% not believe it. And I don't blame you if you're like, no, that can't be true. But I promise, it's all true. This really happened. And I guess my treasure takeaway, while there are many with this nut story, is that God can use my very deepest wounds to bring healing to the world. Whew. Next. The cherry on top of 2020 for me came in November, when after a really intense year, as we all had in 2020, I tore my ACL. Actually, the unholy trinity, I call it. The MCL, meniscus, and ACL were torn. And my husband ordered a bedside toilet for me to use in the middle of the night when I'd have to get up. And when it came, he ordered it off Amazon. And when it came, we quickly realized, oh, it's like an IKEA style, where you're going to need to assemble it. So he was busy doing something for me, no doubt. So he enlisted my 2 sons to put together the toilet. So I know this is the moment. They're ruined. I've done it. Now, this is it. Everything we've been through led up to this moment, and this is what they're going to be telling their therapists about when they're 40. This is it. Like James and John, whew, it's going to be rough. And what I did not consider was that an assembly of a bedside toilet is like the ultimate Lego build of all time. My kids love Legos. Also, we let them fail. We let them put it together wrong, put it back together, take a few hours on this project. It was a thing. And honestly, all along the way, my kids have been there for this party of hard stuff. They were there when I tore my ACL. They were standing there as I screamed, and my husband whipped the car around and we drove to the emergency room. James was the one who ran into the emergency room to get them to get a gurney to bring me in. My kids have been a part of this story all the way to the putting together of the bedside toilet. And that is this beautiful, deep lesson. My kids loved putting together the bedside toilet. They are so proud of everything that they get to do for their mama. They don't resent it. They're such a part of this story. And for those of you out there who need care and who feel so guilty and shamed, here's the truth. If you were not supposed to be on earth right now, in whatever state your body is in, you would not be here. You are here for a reason, or you would not be here. Thus, you are worthy of care by all the people in your life, or you would not be in this room and you would not be breathing. The reality is, if you are here, you are worthy of being taken care of your whole life. And here's the truth for the children in your life. They are better for it. I know too much to know. We have a camp for families with disabilities, and I see this up close, that the typically able-bodied children, typical siblings, are the best people on earth. They just get it differently. They know how to interact and be and enter into pain. They have a level of compassion unlike anything you've ever seen. They are just the most incredible people. They're mature. They know what it means to grow up in a world where too many kids don't know how to be mature and complete people. I'm reminded of the truth of James 1:4, that we let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete and not lacking anything. And that, I pray, is the gift that my suffering is going to be in the lives of my little boys, that they're going to lack nothing because of it. And I make no promises with that claim. That's my prayer, but they are not adults, and it is TBD. They may be a mess. I don't know. That's my prayer. Just being honest with all of you. The treasure takeaway is this: I can see my suffering as a curse on the people I love, or as an inheritance of breathtaking value. Wow is right, ladies, because it is. It's an inheritance of breathtaking value. One more treasure. So I've had some brain issues. I had the AVM, the arterial venous malformation that caused the stroke rupture in 2008. In 2013, I have a series of brain issues and an aneurysm that had to be coiled. In 2017, and this is the picture you're about to see, I was hospitalized for a series of dissections, vertebral artery dissections. And initially, the doctors thought these were all like majorly separate brain issues. But now, through extensive genetic testing, they've discovered that I have some sort of super rare, ongoing neurological vascular condition that is so rare, it's not diagnosable. And cool. And the geneticist that told me this news, I don't even have words. To describe him as zany would imply there was something cute about him. There was nothing cute about this man. He literally came into the room and, with the worst bedside manner of any human being I've ever known, looked at me and said, "Ma'am, you definitely have brain issues." To which I think, but do not say, "And so do you." And he basically told me, like, it's ongoing. You got stuff that's not going away in your brain. It's a condition. It's not a one and done like you thought. And it hit my husband and I so hard, though we knew somewhere deep inside of us that this could not all be just weird one-offs. Of course they're connected. We still wanted to believe it was one-offs. And, I realized somewhere in that craziness that I had always believed that when you suffer as a Christian, ultimately what you get is hope, and then vacation, hallelujah, victory. I've won the battle. And I did not remotely understand what the truth of Romans 5:3 actually meant. That suffering produces perseverance, perseverance character, character hope, and hope will not put us to shame. Because we go back into the cycle built different because of where we've been. Do you understand? It's like freeing me to say it even. That instead of arriving and being delivered, because that's coming in heaven, right here and now, we will suffer. And it's hard. And we will persevere. And we will get character. And we will get hope. And the hope fortifies and strengthens us to go back into the suffering differently. Hope is a living force that propels us forward, ladies, into the ongoing hurt of this world, but with an ongoing hope. So the treasure takeaway for all of you is that hope is not a fixed point I will reach. Hope is the living force that propels me forward. Now today, my two sons, James and John, are 16 and 9. We are a family of 4. Nothing is perfect. Goodness, nothing is perfect. But we're doing it. We're doing life. That picture right there could make me so sad